Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we are commemorating an important day, that is World Day of Social Justice, or World Social Justice Day, with the theme for 2023, Overcoming Barriers and Unleashing Opportunities for Social Justice. So this year, theme focuses on recommendations of our common agenda to strengthen global solidarity and to rebuild trust in government by overcoming barriers and unleashing opportunities for social justice. Therefore, the 2023 World Day of Social Justice provides an opportunity to foster dialogue with member states, youth, social partners, civil society, UN organizations, and other stakeholders on actions needed to strengthen the social contract that has been fractured by rising inequalities, conflicts, and weakened institutions that are meant to protect the rights of workers. Despite these multiple crises, there are many opportunities to build a coalition for social justice and unleash greater investments in decent jobs with a particular focus on the green, digital, and care economy and on young people. A global coalition for social justice. Poverty and inequalities within among the countries are on the rise in many parts of the world. The economic and social crises of recent years have been exacerbated by the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, natural disasters due to accelerating climate change, geopolitical tensions, and armed conflicts. Beyond the human tragedies associated with them and their impact on the world of work, these crises have highlighted the interlinkages and dependence of economies and societies around the world, shown the crucial need for concerned action to respond to them at global, regional, and national levels. This has happened against the background of important changes such as inter alia, growing disruptions in economies linked to globalization and technology, significant demographic transformations, increasing migration flows, and protracted situations of fragility. The world of work has not been spared by the upheavals. The the perceived lack of satisfaction. Responses to these multiple challenges and changes has led in many countries to growing discontent and mistrust established institutions and actors of public life. Confronted with the complex situation and the multilateral system that has also struggled to adopt a changing environment and to provide concrete and coordinated responses to many of the world's most pressing challenges. The growing gap between the industrial commitments and the concrete achievements has been fragilized. Multilateral action and its credibility, resulting in open criticism and disengagement more than ever. It is urgent for the multilateral system to deliver and to contribute to bringing solutions to people's daily problems, and to do so in a more efficient and coherent manner. This sense of urgency have been shared by many, including the United Nations UN Secretary General, who his report, Our Common Agenda, has warned against today's growing divide and called for a more inclusive and networked multilateralism, re-embracing global solidarity and renewing the social contract between governments and their people and within the society, anchored in a most comprehensive approach to human rights. Social justice makes societies and economies function better and reduces poverty, inequalities, and social tensions. It plays an important role in attaining more inclusive, sustainable, socio-economic development paths and is key for reaching the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, especially at a time when the achievement of these goals remain far away. It is more important than ever that the multilateral system coalesces around a set of shared values and goals and identify the means to respond to people's aspirations and needs. Social justice has therefore to become one of the cornerstones of the renewed multilateralism that is required, a really objective, rallying objective, but also significant instrument for more efficient multilateral system, ensuring coherence across a range of policy areas. So the International Labour Organization, ILO, unanimously adopted the ILO Declaration on Social Justice for a Fair Globalization on 10th June 2008. This is the third major statement of principles and policies adopted by the International Labour Conference since the ILO's constitution of 1990. It builds on the Philadelphia Declaration of 1944 and the Declaration of Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work of 1998. The 2003 Declaration expresses the contemporary vision of the ILO's mandate in the era of globalization. This landmark declaration is a powerful reaffirmation of ILO values. It is the outcome of tripartite consultations that started in the wake up of the report of the World Commission on the Social Dimension of Globalization. By adopting this text, the representatives of governments, employers, and workers, organizations from 182 countries, states emphasize the key role of tripartite organization in helping achieving progress and social justice in the context of globalization. Together, they commit to enhance ILO's capacity to advance these goals through the decent work agenda. The declaration institutionalizes the decent work concept developed by the ILO since 1999, placing at the core of the organization's policies to research its constitutional objectives. The declaration comes at a crucial political moment, reflecting the wide consensus on the need for a strong social dimension to a globalization in achieving improved and fair outcomes for all. It constitutes a compass for the promotion of a fair globalization based on the decent work as well as a practical tool to accelerate progress in the implementation of the decent work agenda at the country level. It also reflects a productive outlook by highlighting the importance of sustainable development enterprises in creating greater employment and income opportunities for all. The General Assembly recognizes that social development and social justice are indispensable for the achievement and maintenance of peace and security within and among nations, and that in turn, social development and social justice cannot be attained in the absence of peace and security or in the absence of respect for all human rights and fundamental freedom. It further recognizes that globalization and interdependence are opening new opportunities through trade and investment and capital flows and advances in technology, including information technology for the growth of the world economy and the development and improvement of living standards around the world. While at the same time, there remain serious challenges, including serious financial crisis, insecurity, poverty, exclusion, and inequality within and among societies, and considerable obstacles to further integration and full participation in the global economy for developing countries, as well as some countries with economies in transition. On 26 November 2007, the General Assembly declared that the starting from 63rd session of the General Assembly, 20th February will be celebrated annually as the Day of Social Justice. The world is plagued with unfortunate issues that prohibit millions of individuals from living a fair life. Many of the world's population, though no fault of their own, are deprived of basic facilities such as homes, jobs, healthcare, education, nutrition, and many more. It must be the responsibility of the privileged to ensure that we can create a just world where social justice is a norm. If you want to contribute in an extremely meaningful way, you could enter the law profession. Law school is expensive, but the social justice and delivery of justice systems through law profession or practice helps one to involve, advocate, and deliver the services through the social justice system. And the world is facing significant issues, including serious financial crisis, high unemployment rates, poverty, exclusion among societies, discrimination, and lack of access to facilities that prohibit full participation in the global economy for developed countries. Back in 1995, Copenhagen, Denmark hosted the World Summit for Social Development. This resulted in the Copenhagen Declaration and the Program of Action. Over 100 political leaders took a pledge to elevate poverty, work towards full employment, and create stable, safe, and just societies. They also decided that they needed to put people at the center of development plans. So in 2005, in New York, the UN member states reviewed the Copenhagen Declaration and Program of Action at a session of the Commission for Social Development. They agreed to commit to advancing social development. 2 years later, on November 26, 2007, the United Nations General Assembly declared that starting from 63rd session of the General Assembly, February 20 will be celebrated annually as the World Day of Social Justice on June 10th, 2008. The International Labour Organization adopted the ILO Declaration on Social Justice for a Fair Globalization. Organizations across the world, including the United Nations and the International Labour Office, make statements on the importance of social justice for people. Organizations also prepare and present plans for tackling issues and promoting social justice. Trade unions also participate and do their bit in the making day. The Russian General Confederation of Trade Unions have in fact declared the common slogan as social justice and decent life for all. A civil rights movement took place for Black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in the United States in between 1950s and 1960s. President John F. Kennedy signs an affirmative action for special justice in 1961. President George H.W. Bush signs the final bill version of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. Amnesty International records 483 executions in 18 countries, a 26% decrease from what was earlier recorded in the year earlier. So in 2020, we can observe a drop in executions. So the four interrelated principles of social justice are equity, access, participation, and rights. These are important to create a socially sound world for every individual. Social justice essentially means fairness in the society, which includes access, affordability to healthcare, employment, housing, and many more. Over the years, it has started applying to all aspects of the society, including and irrespective of race, caste, ethnicity, gender, etc. So some of the most pressing social issues are poverty, homelessness, climate change, gender equality, and access to health care. There are several social issues that need attention. So we can do research and advocate for a cause. It could be anything related to race, education, healthcare, malnutrition, etc. Use social media to conduct a digital campaign, start a conversation, build dialogue, call for action, and try to make a difference in the world. Advocate for a social cause. There are many social justice events that take place around the world to raise awareness. Like this, you can either start one in your own neighborhood or attract more people to, or volunteer to host an already recurring event, or contribute with your time and efforts to create a fair world for everyone. Many social issues go unnoticed due to lack of information available in the world. Equip yourself with adequate knowledge through books, conversations with most affected groups, through media, and through various sources reliable. Travel around the world to see the conditions in other countries. Educate yourself on social issues. A report by the World Bank measured gender discrimination in 187 countries, with only 6 countries giving women and men equal legal work rights. Gender discrimination is highly prevalent in the world. Motli is one of the most effective human rights attorney and defense attorneys operating in Afghanistan. The first American or the first African American to win the Nobel Prize is Ralph Bunche. Thunberg is one of the youngest social justice activists who made headlines with her speech at the United Nations General Assembly. According to data, around 26 million people in the United States participated in the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, making it the largest movement in the history of the country. Social justice is essential in creating a fair and just world for everyone, be it access to basic healthcare, or for a better life, or educational opportunities, or living in a safe world. Social justice is required to ensure It is a fair world and every individual can thrive. With access to education, healthcare, shelter, employment, etc., individuals can lead to dignified life without having to rely on the mercy of others. It is important that people feel a sense of belongings in the world to ensure harmonious relationships and progression. So this day raises awareness on many prevailing issues in the world that don't get enough attention. It is not known to many that malnutrition also causes a world serious issue. Another major concern is childhood obesity. By focusing on these, we can make appropriate measures to elevate them and provide a better life to many. Apart from that, there are various social issues like alcoholism, substance abuse, tobacco consumption, and teenage pregnancies, prostitution, human trafficking, and various other social issues which can be addressed. Though there are many organizations working towards upliftment and poverty eradication, but unfortunately, they lack the right direction, because of which the poverty elevation is not happening in a proper way. Maybe this may be due to various political reasons as well. We have seen even in earlier presentations also, more food is produced than required, almost 3 to 4 times the requirement of food is produced, but it is getting wasted. Similarly, many NGOs, many funding agencies are providing, and many individuals are donating a lot of funds. Even if we collect all the funds and use it appropriately, poverty has, have been eradicated long back. But what is happening? The misuse of funds, abuse of funds, such funds, and various NGOs, even including international NGOs, are not having a proper direction. They use huge amount of funds for advertising, promotion, instead of directly providing services to the beneficiaries. And even certain researchers in media also, brought this issue to the limelight on various occasions, where the hard-earned money, where the individuals who care for the society, they are contributing so that, these social issues or, this kind of poverty, malnutrition can be addressed. But certain NGOs and various other individuals, they are using these funds and, misguiding them and inappropriately using them, and not really contributing to the cause. We see, a lot of international organizations, national organizations, even, regional and state level organizations, even some organizations, they collect huge funds, but they collect funds more than required to, address the issue. But what is happening really? We can see, huge programs are being conducted by taking a lot of, in star hotels or, these auditoriums and various international and national event locations. And you see huge money is spent on these event management, decorations, and for providing, various treats and refreshments and, praising each other. But is it serving the society? There are many people who are dying of hunger. We have seen every minute one person is dying with hunger. Every minute, there are people dying with malnutrition. There are every minute, many children are dying. instead of spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees on organizing such events only to praise each other or, to promote each other in a grandiosity, I think government should bring new legislations and policies, at what amount is collected and how it is spent. Instead of organizing such lavish fees and, having it, instead, you can see if you spending 1 lakh, you can sponsor a child's education. 1 year fees, how many children you can sponsor? Or if you can sponsor a meal for the child 3 times, how much it would cost? So a lot of misuse. Even NGOs are also going, we see a lot of NGOs who are making, money. And we have seen earlier lakhs and lakhs of NGOs have been blacklisted. And we have seen across the nation. It was a very big scam of NGOs. And nowadays, the NGO itself, name itself, credibility itself lost. When someone, earlier it was like NGO means people used to come forward to help. Nowadays, if we say we are running an NGO, then it is a synonym of a scam, scam organization where you take funds and you misuse the funds. So to that extent, NGOs have, there were a lot of these NGOs that were created just on documents. But a lot of misuse of funds. So today, NGOs are suffering credibility. And today also, the way NGOs are conducting themselves, this includes all the NGOs, including international, national, or regional, or local NGOs, the way they are conducting, instead of directly benefiting the beneficiaries, organizing such, grandiose events or in the name of fundraising or, if we analyze these accounts and various other practices, we see a lot of funds are being misused. In fact, these NGOs are used to praise each other or to, give awards to each other and, to promote themselves on media and in public rather than directly addressing the cause. We have seen this officially also, in various commemorations earlier also, that how much funds were required really to eradicate this poverty. More than that, it is invested in various other activities. We have surplus fund. There is no dearth of funds or wealth in this on this planet. No, we have more than sufficient funds to provide food, healthy nutrition, health facilities to everyone on the planet. But what is happening? Because of irrational, illogical practices and misuse of funds, and even NGOs and various other organizations who have declared themselves as working towards the upliftment of the poor and the downtrodden are misusing funds, by organizing such lavish events and wasting a lot of resources. Instead, they could have really gone and, addressed and elevated such poverty and have addressed various such causes. A common man can ask, you can see a lot of events happening and there are many poor people. There's you see a lot of requests keep coming. Someone requires for their medical surgery. Someone requires, for their education. They are looking for some funds. Someone requires funds to go abroad to study or pursue. Someone requires funds. Many farmers, they are committing suicides. You are spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees booking a 5-star hotel and arranging a lavish dinner and, only to make a statement that we have collected so much funds and we have we are working towards eradication of poverty. Will people believe that? If you are really, instead of spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees there or crores of rupees there on advertisements, how much an ad cost in television? Do you know how many ads by international agencies and how much amounts they are collecting, how much funds they are raising, and how much in turn they are spending? If you calculate these statistics, you will know the scam that is being, performed by these various organizations. And they do not spend also. And in that way also, government is losing, money which can be utilized for welfare of the people. In the same way, even beneficiaries, they are being deprived, and even those who philanthropists or donors who are willing to donate are also, stepping back because their funds are getting misused, or either, they spent just for the sake of spending, and most of the funds are, diverted. And nowadays, it's very common, you see, in the name of awards and various gifts, a lot of NGOs are conducting various events only to, promote each other. And this has been not today, it not started today, but it is their practice since several years. And, we need to really question ourselves when we are doing such activities. Especially today, we are commemorating World Social Justice Day, and we have seen a lot of problems are there. This is not, being taken up or, being identified by me or someone. Even United Nations is talking about it. A lot of disparities are there. Poverty elevation is there. Poverty eradication is there. A lot of social issues are there. Even governments are not able to address these issues. These are pressing issues in the planet. And, many people are coming forward to donate, to contribute. And again, among that, lot of funds are being misused, or diverted or used for their self-promotion or for the advertisements, for, promoting their own, for their own benefits. In one hand, they wanted to donate, and other hand, they want to take some award or in a grandiose manner. So most of the funds are, getting wasted there only. So we need to really, reflect upon ourselves. Karma doesn't leave anyone. Again, when you do, God is watching. If you are, God-fearing, God is watching everything from above. If you do such acts, God will, bless you? Again, when you see, when you are doing charity, or when you are doing some donation or granting, what does a charity or donation or grant mean? It doesn't have any purpose. You are doing business. You are not doing a charity there. So we need to relook up. Nowadays, yes, we agree, 99% of the people are like that. Very rarely we can see someone who is really, committed and who is really dedicated and spending, total amount on this. See, it's okay. Society is like that. We cannot blame, because individuals, society are all like that. But, we lack that kind of dedication, commitment towards upliftment of the downtrodden and poverty eradication. We have so much wealth. We have so much of, we see lots of billionaires and huge wealth accumulated. But they really, if they really want to eradicate poverty, then long back poverty could have been eradicated. But they don't really want to eradicate poverty, but by taking excuse in the name of poverty eradication, or downtrodden upliftment. They want to promote themselves by, organizing various events. And it doesn't mean that they do not do. They also contribute, maybe in 100%, 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. But most of the funds are misused. And they use these excuses to promote themselves. So maybe, it's your money, your wish at the end of the day. But, will you really get the benefit of that? Are you really, empathizing with the situation, with the people who are really looking for? We have to reflect upon ourselves. So there are various social issues, pressing issues, and on this Social Justice Day, let's really, look upon ourselves, our activities, and let's, contribute in a positive way, dedicating ourselves and properly utilizing the funds. Either it may be from international funding agencies or governments or, various philanthropists or various organizations. It should be properly utilized so that the beneficiaries get benefited and the root cause is served. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration of World Social Justice Day. Let's everyone repledge ourselves that, we will sincerely, through dedication, will recommit ourselves to poverty elevation and advocating for various social causes so that social justice is provided to each and everyone on the planet without any discrimination. And this week we have various other commemorations. Like in US, it is also National Eating Disorders Association Week, celebrated in the last week of February to promote awareness of eating disorders and spread the hope for those in recovery and their families. So the National Eating Disorders Association, NEDA in short, is an initiative, has taken initiative for this day. And about 8% of the population in US suffers from eating disorders. And this week aims to educate people on eating disorders, motivate them with a hopeful message, and allow them who need treatment to gain access to the necessary life-saving resources. And as already mentioned, NEDA Week is an initiative taken by a non-profit organization called National Eating Disorders Association, which is devoted to preventing eating disorders and increasing awareness of the dangers thereof and providing resources to those in need. During this week, healthcare providers, eating disorder professionals, social workers, and individuals educate others about this mental health issue. According to the American Psychiatric Association, there are 5 different types of eating disorders: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and other feeding or eating disorders. Of course, there are various other also. We'll look into that later. Although there are many main factors like genetics that are responsible for eating disorders, they can commonly co-occur with other mental health issues like anxiety, depression, major depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and social phobia. And some of the possible symptoms associated with eating disorders include constantly feeling cold, fainting, sleeping issues, weight fluctuations, dizziness, weakness, and impaired immunity. Yet, each year, it is celebrated with a theme. Last year, theme was to invite everybody to have a seat at the table. It highlighted the suppressed thoughts and suppressed conversations about disordered eating experiment experienced by marginalized individuals and communities. So this week, let's come together and educate others about this issue and help others who are in need. So all the eating disorders need to be considered serious. However, anorexia is seen as a serious disease. So this week, help those in need. There might be someone you know who is suffering from an eating disorder. You can do your best to support them and their family. And if you yourself has been a victim or a fighter who has recovered from an eating disorder or know someone who has recovered from it, share the story and inspire people around you. You may help someone in need. Educate your friends, family, and others about the dangers of eating disorders and how they can lead a healthy life. So bring awareness and educate others about eating disorders on this day. There are more than 30 million Americans, ranging from kids to older adults, who are suffering from eating disorders. And obesity is also one of the major problems in the US, especially with child obesity. Contrary to what many people may think, an eating disorder is not a physical disorder. It is mostly due to a mental disorder. And a person dies due to an eating disorder approximately every 60 seconds. And only 1 in 10 people with eating disorders will receive proper treatment. And treatment, those who are approaching and getting treatment is also very low, 1 in 10. The most common eating disorder in the US is binge eating, which affects 3.5% of women and 2% of men. So this week is not just about raising awareness. Supporters across the globe contribute what they can do to the people suffering from eating disorders. So see what you can do this day to contribute. And it empowers people suffering from eating disorders to seek professional help before it's too late. And many of us are binging on junk foods or have poor eating habits or have selective eating habits. So this week is an eye-opener to take care of our eating habits and mental health. Often, we also do not take time in food. Take food in time. So that is also causing a lot of health issues. This week is also commemorated as National Invasive Species Awareness Week. And this commemoration aims to shed light on the recognized impacts, prevention measures, and invasive species control. It also celebrates individuals and organizers creating a sustainable biodiverse ecosystem. There are events held across the globe during this observance to create awareness of the dangers of invasive species. National Invasive Species Week or Awareness Week is an endeavor in US of the North American Invasive Species Management Association in conjunction with agencies and organizations at the federal, state, and local levels. The National Wildlife Federation defines invasive species as any living organism that is not natural to the ecosystem It causes damage, including the plants, animals, bacteria, fungus, and even seedlings. These species are recognized predators as they produce and grow rapidly, taking over an ecosystem or host or plant. In 2015, the first National Invasive Species Week was held, bringing together various groups to promote awareness of invasive species and to encourage people to limit their spread. In late February, delegates from local, statewide, and regional organizations convened in Washington, D.C. to discuss invasive species prevention and management legislation, policies, and possible improvements. Partners organized events across the nation to enlighten general public and political representatives about how they can help limit the presence of invasive species. The North American Invasive Species Management Association is in charge of this week. So we can assist in raising the profile of invasive species specialists and the organizations among policy makers and agency officials, and sponsor and contribute and recognize, organize, and execute outreach advocacy efforts and improve the public and elected officials' perception of invasive species concerns. So the importance and release of several species, including the house sparrow and gypsy moth, became widespread in 1800s. The Alien Species Prevention and Enforcement Act states that the transportation of animals or plants considered dangerous is illegal and has been passed in 1992. NAISMA provides support, training, outreach, and building networks across diverse jurisdictions and stakeholders to professionals concerned with invasive species control. In 1994, the National Invasive Species Act is released to prevent invasive species from entering inland waters in 1996. A voluntary management program by the US Coast Guard is put in place to minimize the transfer of harmful organisms or pathogens. The Ballast Water Management Program was established in 1998. So the Ballast Water Management Program, which was a standard for ships crossing into the United States, was made mandatory in 2004. Native to South America, the red imported fire ant, Solenopsis invicta, was initially transported to the United States as a passenger on cargo in Alabama's port of Mobile around 1930, is the first invasive species in United States. And various species like toad cane, Bufo marinus, the poisons in the cane's toad skin kill most animals that try to eat it, and it outperforms rabbits in terms of reproduction. Each female produces thousands of eggs every year. These toads, they are not frogs. They are also, look similar to frogs. These toads are very dangerous, because they have poison in their skin, and whichever animal tries to consume it, gets killed because of that poison, and they reproduce very fast. This week is an excellent opportunity to improve our knowledge of invasive species. So this depends from, place to place. Basically, species which are not native to that place. So familiarize yourself with invasive species in your region and learn how to limit their spread. And share your research with your family and friends and let them join you on the cause. Several species like red squirrel, which are endemic to the US, are considered invasive in other countries. And in 1993, the OTA released an estimated stating that over 100 million goes into aquatic weed control for invasive species annually. So it is eating up huge, big bugs. According to 2001 report, the United States Department of Agriculture states that invasive rat species are responsible for over $19 billion in annual damages with this rat attack. Transporting firewood is among the ways humans inadvertently spread invasive species. Defaulters all over the eastern United States face penalties of a 25-year jail term and a $1 million fine. Chicago's sanitary and ship canal has an electrical barrier to deter the movement of Asian carp into Great Lakes such as Lake Michigan. So even such extreme measures are also being taken. So this National Invasive Species Awareness Week helps enlighten the public and relevant authorities about invasive species and inevitable damage that cause to our ecosystem. By doing so, people can help prevent the spread of invasive species. And it is a time for constructive conversation and proactive action against invasive species. And it is an opportunity for concerned individuals and parties to support initiatives and policies limiting their spread. And it is also a week to mark the events across the week to empathize the need of conscious effort to combat the decline of vibrant ecosystems and save ecosystems. And apart from this, we have National Pancake Week. It is one of the favorite breakfast food in North America, in US. And this week is also National Chip Week in UK. So this week is celebrated by checking and trying out some of the best homemade chip recipes. And this was, a brainchild was started by the by the Potato Council in UK. This council is a trade organization focused on potato industry development in Great Britain. This week is one of the council's annual awareness campaign to encourage more people to eat chips and dispel its myths so that more potatoes can be sold out and marketed. And between 19th and 20th century, fish and chips grew in popularity across the UK, becoming one of the most popular favorite meals. During the Second World War, fish and chips played an important role. It was one of the non-ration foods complementing soldiers and the British people's diets and are still one of the top 10 most popular British dishes today. So Britishers consume about 382 million portions of fish and also potato chips yearly and spend up to 1.2 billion pounds annually on fish and chips. And during the D-Day landings, British soldiers identified each other by calling out fish and waiting for the other person to respond chips. So this was also a code in the war. And Marinese in Glasgow sold 12,406 portions of fish and chips in one day. And Henley's Fish and Chip Shop in Essex prepared chips from scratch and served them in 222 seconds, the fastest chips portion served from the scratch. And this week also has a cultural significance known as Meslensa Week, a week before Great Lent commences and lasts for 7 days in Russia. So this auspicious occasion of indulgence, better known as Butter Week, is a folk holiday observed in Slavic countries of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. So this holiday honors the arrival of spring after the long stretch of winter. Being the oldest Slavic holiday, Meslenitsa week continues to bring observers together for a feast of pancakes, butter-filled sweets, and religious merriment. There is a huge demand for the butterfood during this celebration as well. Russians mark the celebration by wearing cultural costumes, eating blini, and dancing to the folk music. And most traditions during this week revolve around food. It is said that one must fill their bellies and their hearts with scrumptious food before the sacrificial weeks of Lent commence. Modern day observance learn more into the cultural aspects of the holiday, which include preparing indulgent meals at home and eating them with friends and family. The days of the week often end with folk dances in community gardens. And similarly, as we celebrate this, burning of effigy of Ravan on the final day of Meslenitsa, a straw stuffed effigy that resembles Lady Meslenitsa is burned in the public. People rejoice around the burning ground and throw pancakes at the figure as a symbol of dying winter. You can emulate the experience by gathering your past belongings and torching them as a symbol for moving on. Local artisans present their artwork on the road and merriment ensues on the streets of small Russian towns. And Russians and other European countries bear the inhumanity of winter for months on end before a single ray of sunshine is bestowed upon them. So this week is a beautiful reminder that seasons change and the spring is just around the corner. And this week also connects people forgiving each other and having meals together. The harsh winds of winter make everyone burrow into their caves. As the spring commences, everyone comes out of their caves. Metaphorically, we should also emerge from our isolation. If we are at odds with anyone, we should just ask each other for forgiveness. And today is also a family day in Canada, and also Hoodie Hoo Day. It is a day all about welcoming spring. And today is also Clean Your Bookcase Day or Clean Out Your Bookcase Day. It's all about, just dusting your bookshelves. And today is also Argentina Carnival or Carnival Monday, which is a cultural fest that puts on great display of tradition and history in the form of play and various celebrations. Today is also Mizoram State Day, the formation of Mizoram State. And today is also National Handcuffs Day in US. We know the handcuffs, which the police or law enforcement agencies use it. And, this day was the day where George A. Carney was given the patent number in US for his lightweight and adjustable swinging bow ratchet type handcuff, according to Carney. These handcuffs in question were developed in the year 1912 and had a design that was comparatively more comfortable than the previous handcuffs that were developed. These handcuffs are now used when arresting criminals or when the need to detain someone arises. So this day is commemorated in order to pay a tribute to the great American innovators that has changed life. While the handcuffs we see today are different, the idea to use an object to restrain someone has existed since a long time, ancient times. The creation of restraints has in fact been spotted in various mythologies. Other mentions of restraining devices date back to earlier centuries, dated, from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th centuries. And, we have seen various instances where armies use them to hold prisoners of war. However, like other inventions, handcuffs also evolved over time and were created out of several materials before they reached the most efficient design, which are available now, today. So in 1780, Heath Handcuff became the first company to manufacture the cuffs, but it wasn't until 1850 that different styles of handcuffs were formulated. This is because incidents of crime had increased and the need for restraints escalated. At that point in time, there were two handcuffs, the Bango handcuffs and the flexible handcuffs. The Bango handcuffs didn't allow prisoners any movement, whereas the flexible ones allowed prisoners to slightly move and perform necessary movements such as eating and drinking water. In the late 19th century, the snap became the most popular handcuff since it could actually snap onto the wrists of the criminals or suspects. Then came the twister, which was compact and could easily be carried. The first popular adjustable handcuffs were produced by Chava and were able to provide sustainability and security. These cuffs were created by John J. Tower in 1865 and included a series of handcuffs built under license. Tower applied for his first patent in 1871 to cover the round or oval bow he invented. Handcuffing is a device that goes around one's wrists and restricts their movement. Prisoners often wear handcuffs or leg cuffs so that their movement is restricted. A manacle is a shackle that goes around the wrist to restrain someone. So you can watch a documentary that gives insights on how handcuffs were created and all material that is used for them. If you want to have fun, buy some plastic handcuffs to celebrate the day. You can buy ones in different colors, have a handcuff themed party. You can also play the game of cops and robbers and use your handcuffs. In Japan, the hands of an arrested prisoner wearing handcuffs have to be blurred before being shown on the TV. This is a rule in Japan. The police teach recruits to apply the cuffs with the subject's palms facing outwards. This is the teaching method in the US. Before 1960s, criminals, when arrested, were generally handcuffed with their arms in the front. This was the style of handcuffing in US. The term refers to the work benefits that make it difficult for an employee to leave, are also known as golden handcuffs. And a handcuff referred to a decorative brand at the end of the sleeves in 1591. So this commemoration or this day defines the importance of handcuffs and how they evolved the way prisoners were dealt with by the police. The day narrates the history of handcuffs and how they developed and changed over time. This is essential since it highlights the use of technology in developing everyday objects. Today is also National Student Volunteer Day and also National Whistleblower Reward Day and No Politics Day. And today is also Statehood Day in Arunachal Pradesh, where the state was formed. And the National Student Volunteer Day in US is commemorated to encourage student volunteering and community service and promote volunteering innovation and discussion. The first organized volunteer organization in the US was a firehouse founded by Benjamin Franklin in Philadelphia. Volunteering is an act of giving your time and resources to make a positive impact in the community without expecting any financial reward. Volunteering can take place in a variety of venues, including schools, hospitals, nonprofit organizations, corporate firms, athletic events, disasters, and online. Volunteers are rarely compensated for their efforts. Some organizations, such as United Nations, do, however, give their volunteers allowances to cover their living and operating expenses. This was a recent initiative. Earlier, even United Nations did not pay the volunteers to cover their expenses. It is not a salary or an honorarium, but in the process where volunteers sometimes are not having adequate resources to execute services. Since antiquity, people have been volunteering their resources in one way or the other for the good of their community and mostly their country and around the world. The word volunteer was used for the first time in the military. It originally referred to one who offers himself for military duty in the 1600s. Actual non-military military volunteering originated in 12th century Britain, where it was closely tied with the religion. Over 500 hospitals were run primarily by volunteers in Britain throughout the 12th and 13th centuries. Volunteerism did not take off in the United States until the 19th century during the Great Awakening. Before that, most people volunteered for military endeavors such as the Revolutionary War. An exception was the Philadelphia Voluntary Fires, founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1736. In 1851, the Young Christian Association opened its doors for the first time in the US during the American Civil War. Many people, primarily women, volunteered their support to soldiers on the front line. One of the prominent volunteers of the Civil War was Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross in 1881. The 20th century saw a rapid growth in volunteering and volunteering organizations, many of which even exist today. Two of the popular ones include Rotary Club and Lions International across the world. After the World War II, American volunteering efforts shifted from local and national to international. That led to the creation of organizations such as Peace Corps in 1961, Samaritan's Purse in 1970, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2000. Today, volunteerism in the United States continues to wax stronger, made possible by the internet's explosion and the ease of accessing volunteering opportunities through mobile devices. Volunteering provides students with an opportunity to gain life skills, develop soft and hard skills, and build personal and professional connections. It also gives them a platform to gain relevant work experience and improve their employability. You can show volunteerism as a student by participating in volunteering activities at your campus that align with the cause you are passionate about. And it also can include climate activism, animal rights, gender equality, reduce inequalities, social injustice, and social welfare, student welfare, etc. To be a good volunteer, you need to be passionate about the cause you are volunteering for. Be proactive, willing to commit time and resources, and open to building relationships with the fellow student or volunteers. Animal shelters are places where stray or unwanted animals are housed until they find new owners. Most shelters are usually understaffed, which means some animals may not get the attention they require. So you can use this day to volunteer at one of these shelters to provide companionship to these lonely animals and potentially improve their chances of being adopted. To volunteer, check with your local animal shelter or look up online for shelters searching for volunteers. Remember to volunteer with a group of friends to have best fun experience. Volunteering as a tutor can allow you to share your knowledge with kids or undeserved people. You can also sign up as a volunteer tutor at your local community center or one of the many online tutoring websites. If you are passionate about gender equality, you can participate in women empowerment projects happening on your campus or even organize one. Empowerment projects could be anything from skill development, according to the statistics, 1 billion people out of world's population of about 7 billion are volunteers. They constitute 14% of the world population. and most volunteer work is informal. About 70% of the volunteer work is done informally by people within their respective communities. And up to 57% of volunteer work globally is carried out by women, and women are leading volunteers. People aged between 35 years and 44 years are more likely to volunteer than young people aged between 20 and 24. And Americans contributed an average of 193 billion of their time volunteering in communities in 2006. As a student, you can gain valuable work experience and develop soft skills such as communication, problem solving, project management. Volunteering allows you to learn about your passion and preferred career path and helps you to determine your working habits before fully launching into the professional world. Volunteering improves your career prospects. Volunteering offers several physical and mental health benefits. By engaging volunteer activities that require you to move around it and lift objects, you can build strength, reduce the risk of blood pressure, and volunteering offers several physical and mental health benefits. By engaging in volunteering activities that require you to move around and lift objects, you can build your strength, reduce the risk of blood pressure, and increase your lifespan. Volunteering gets you to engage with other people, helping to counteract feelings of loneliness, depression, and stress. Volunteering allows people to work with a team, group, or a community, which helps them to come out of their shells and develop their interpersonal skills. Volunteering also allows you to build ties with the people you work and connect with influential people in other organizations. Volunteering gets you to engage with other people, helping to counteract feelings of loneliness, depression, and stress. Volunteering allows people to work with a team, group, or in a community, which helps them to come out of their shells and develop their interpersonal skills. Volunteering also allows you to build ties with the people whom you work with and connect with influential people in Today is also National Whistleblower Reward Day, as it is a day that has been set aside to create awareness against fraud and encourage people to report report fraud against the government. Do you know that the fraud costs the government billions of dollars every year? And 10% of all expenditures are a staggering $350 billion annually. In order to tackle this vice, the government has turned to whistleblowers for assistance. Any community or industry can be weakened and crippled by corruption, fraud, and unlawful activity. But sadly, these things frequently go unreported. They can stop by engaging in a whistleblowing, that is, reporting or outing animal criminal activity to the authorities to protect the public's perception and Americans' sanity. There is also no politics day in US. And this day is meant for people who want to move away from the constant political talk, even if only for a day, which makes refreshing statement and aims to bring people of opposing views together. So with this, we shall end the commemorations today. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form and see you all tomorrow at the same time, the different topic. After filling up the feedback form, you may leave the flat. Take care. Good night. See you all tomorrow.